Okay, CC students, next thing we're going to talk about is opening statements. Now notice, I said statement, not argument. This is your initial statement to the jury about what the case is about. So the purpose of this is a preview of the case. We're giving them a roadmap about what the case is about and what we're going to show. Let me show you an example from ESPN of an opening statement. What? From ESPN, you say? Yes, from ESPN.
This is SportsCenter. An emotional night in L.A. as the Lakers honor Kobe's memory. How LeBron remembers his friend with an unscripted speech fans will never forget. We take you to Miami, how Jimmy Garoppolo will approach the Super Bowl, and how the Niners defense can get a handle on Patrick Mahomes. Plus, Zion versus Ja for the first time as the NBA draft's top 2 picks square off. How this matchup really lived up to the hype on SportsCenter now.
Okay. That was SportsCenter's opening statement about what that hour episode is going to be about. Now, later on, when I get to mistakes to avoid, let me just bring this up right now. If you sit through the entire hour of SportsCenter because you want to hear what they're going to talk about the Super Bowl, right? They talked about the Super Bowl story. And they don't cover the Super Bowl story, you're going to be angry, you're going to be upset. If the whole reason you sat through that was because they told you they were going to talk about the Super Bowl. Well, the same is true for your opening statement for your mock trial. Whatever you tell the jury you're going to do, you better do it. I can't tell you that enough. So this is where you get, this can't be done by yourself. This is going to have to be done with all your other classmates, especially on your side of the case, whether you're the prosecution or the defense. Because if you're the attorney giving the opening statement and you say the police officer is going to say something, well, guess what? That police officer better get up there and say something because you've lost all credibility, and the jury will remember that. So don't be scared about that, but I want to make that point because I mean it, and I think it's very important. So how can I help you with your opening statement that you are not scared? Because let's face it, whoever gives the opening statement, whatever attorney in this mock trial, is the one who has to go out of the gate first, and they are the first one to get the jury's attention. And they're probably going to be very nervous because nobody else has done anything yet. But let me tell you something. It's going to happen regardless of whether you're confident or whether you're nervous and scared. So I want you trust me, follow these steps, and you will be confident and ready to go. I guarantee it. Okay, so let's do this, and let's build our confidence up and get ready for our opening statement, okay? Deal? So here's what we're going to do. How do you build confidence and get ready for your opening statement? Well, there's no way you can do this without the preparation, so we're going to prepare. How do we prepare for our opening statement? Well, we're going to collect all of our witness statements, we're going to collect the evidence from the case, and we're going to collect the statute, whatever the law is that the defendant's been charged with. We're going to combine all that, we're going to analyze it, and we're going to use that to build our theory of our case, was broken into a legal theory and a factual theory, and our theme. If you don't know what I'm talking about when I say theory and theme of the case, you should pause this video, come back to it later, and go watch the video that I made about your theory and theme of your case. If you're up to speed, you know what I'm talking about, let's keep continuing. So using the evidence that you have, the statements, the evidence, and the statutes, and now you've developed a legal and factual theory about the case and a theme of the case. You're going to bring all that together in a certain format that we're going to follow to make an opening statement. Here's our format, and this is from the CC Guide. You should refer to that. Anything that contradicts the CC Guide, follow the CC Guide, because sometimes I do say things that are incorrect from the CC Guide because that might not be how I do it in my career. You start off, the format says, "May it please the court." Okay, and you introduce yourself and you introduce your co-counsel. So you come out of the gate, "May it please the court." You're going to give a summary of the case. At this point, you really have to grab the jury's attention. So you better give a summary of the case in your words, but also incorporate your theory and your theme of your case into your summary. I would recommend that because you want the jury to not fall asleep. You're also going to talk about the issue, and you're going to give a detail you're going to talk about the details about what happened. This is your preview of the case, just like the SportsCenter preview, right? What are you going to see in the next hour? Well, the preview. What will the evidence show? You're going to talk about the witnesses and their relationship to the case. And you're also going to talk about the statute and the law. And when you talk about the statute and the law, you're going to talk about the elements So if it's murder, you're going to talk about the elements of murder. You're also going to talk about burden of proof. And you're going to give a summary and a request for relief. So, let me, just off the cuff, well, let me do this, because I don't want to start this video again and start over. I tried a case one time where I figured out how many days had passed since the defendant committed the crime up to the time that we're getting ready to try the case. And it had been, a year and a half. So let's just say it had been 400 and some days. Well, I got up in front of the jury and I said to them, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Derek Klepper and I represent the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania against the defendant. I pointed at the defendant. And I said, I've been waiting 485 days to tell you this story. Long before you got your notice, your summons to come to court today, I've been preparing to tell you this story. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to take you back to 400 and so many days ago, to December 15th, 2018. And I don't know what you were doing on December 18th, 2018, but I can tell you what the victim was doing on December 18th, 2018. You see, on that day, she got up and she was starting her normal day. And she did not know that this was going to be the last day of her life. And she started out on her day and she decided to do boom, boom, boom. And I walked them through the victim's day. And then I said, let's talk about what the defendant over there was doing on December 18th, 2018. He set out to end the victim's life. And at the end of the day, on that day when their lives intersected, the defendant had the intention to do blah, blah, blah. Okay, so I started incorporating what the statute is. I also talked about what the evidence was going to show. And I said, now, let's talk about burden of proof. As prosecution, as the Commonwealth, I have the burden of proof in this case. And I have to prove whatever the defendant was charged with, let's just say murder. I have to prove murder beyond a reasonable doubt. I have that burden of proof. What does that mean? Well, we'll talk about more about that in closing argument, but I want you to know that I must prove each and every element beyond a reasonable doubt. Not beyond all doubt, but beyond a reasonable doubt. And what do I have to prove to you? Well, I have to prove to you these elements. I have to prove that the defendant murdered somebody, they had the intent to do it, blah, 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 blah. How am I going to do that? How am I going to do that? Well, you're going to hear from this witness, and I would tell them who the witness was. And what are they going to tell you? Well, they're going to tell you that on blah, 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 they investigated this. I also have to prove that the defendant was killed. How am I going to do that? Well, you're going to hear from this witness, and then I would tell them what this witness is going to say. And then you're going to hear from this person. There's one person that you're not going to hear from. That's the victim, because she's dead. But ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to show you through the evidence, and we're going to speak for the victim through the physical evidence in this case, through the witnesses that I'm going to show, and we're going to show each and every element of this crime beyond a reasonable doubt. And ladies and gentlemen, when I'm done with this case, I'm going to come back here and I'm going to give you a closing argument. I'm going to tell you why you should believe the evidence as I presented it and why we have met our burden in the case. And I'm going to ask you to find the defendant guilty of murder. Did you see I gave my request for my leave? So there, right off the cuff, I have given you an example. And it wasn't polished because I don't have it in front of me and I don't have an outline. But I talked about who I was. I talked about what the case was, what the issue was. It's about murder, what happened. I'm going to talk about preview of what the evidence is going to show, what are the witnesses going to show. I told you what the statute was. I told you a little bit about the elements. I told you about the burden of proof. And I told you what I want the jury to do. That's what your opening statement is. And yours is going to be a lot better than mine because that was off the cuff. But here's some tips for your opening statement. You should memorize it. Now, that doesn't mean you can't use an outline. Each of these videos that I do, this is my outline. So there's certain things I want to hit. I want to make sure that I accomplish when I make these videos. Same thing for your opening statement. So you're going to have an outline that you're going to refer to, but you're not going to be able to read your opening statement. You're going to memorize your opening statement. You're going to refer to your outline. You want to capture the jury's attention, just like I did with the days that it had been since the crime had been committed. That captured their attention. That pulled them in. I could tell because they were like, whoa. And you know what the other thing it did was I got them thinking. I got the jury thinking about what they were doing at that time period. And if you can do that, it humanizes the case and it brings the jury into the case. These next two points I want to make is be sincere. You really have to believe in your case, but you can't be fake. You can't be something that you're not, and they will see right through that. So you should be sincere. The other thing is to be yourself. Don't be like me. Be better than me. Be yourself. You are. God made you a certain way with talents that I don't have, and you should use those talents. And just be yourself. You know, like I said, just talk to the people, right? We get so like nervous on this, and we get like robots, and we lose ourselves. And you shouldn't be like that. You need to be yourself. You're the best person that you can be. So just be genuine and be yourself. Don't overstate the case. Remember I told you that in the Sports Center example, I said, if the Sports Center doesn't give me what they told me they were going to in that preview, I'm going to be really disappointed, and they've lost credibility with me. So listen, don't overstate your case. You know, don't say that the articles of impeachment are going to prove the president's guilty of a crime unless you've proven the president's guilty of a crime. Don't overstate your case, or you lose credibility. Eye contact. Maintain eye contact. I like to look at each juror in the eye. And the last point then would be to move with purpose. I like to make eye contact with them while I'm making points. Sometimes it would take me a little bit longer, and if I have to move down here to get their eye contact, but I'm making eye contact with each and every one of these jurors. I want them to know me. I want to know them. And not doing it like I'm uncomfortable, but I'm making eye contact and I'm moving, and I'll look at each one of them and I'll spend time with each and every one of those jurors as I give my opening statement. If you have 4 jurors in your mock trial, you better spend some time with each one of them. If you have 12 jurors like I did, or I had 14 because we had alternates, and 12 and my 2 alternates, I walk down that row and I look at each one of them in the eyes and I talk to them like I'm talking to you. And that's how you try in a case, and that's how you give an opening statement. You can do this. I have no doubt that you can do this. And the way you're going to do it is you're going to have the confidence that only comes by taking the time to prepare. And you can do it, and I'm going to be so proud of you to watch you do it. So I hope this helps. Next video, I'm going to give you an example of a good opening statement and a bad opening statement. So check out the next video. Thanks.